I'm Jennifer Sinesti. You're watching News 24 Live. Well, I'm joined in studio today by jazz singer and saxophonist Gavin Minter. Hello.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, thanks. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Now, you've had quite an extraordinary career. I mean, you've shared the stage with so many huge names in the music industry. Can you tell me about the most memorable performance you've had in your career?
The most memorable is performing Stevie Wonder.
I thought you were going to say that.
I mean, not because he was the most famous that I performed with. It was just, he was one of my absolute gurus of music. I mean, I have a thing with Stevie Wonder, and I recorded a tune of his actually, long before I met him and long before I sang with him. So there was an incredible night of music. I don't think I touched the ground for a week afterwards.
Wow.
I floated, yeah.
What was it like meeting him? I mean, for any musician to meet Stevie Wonder, I can only imagine.
It's a strange thing meeting Stevie Wonder because he's blind.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no absolute connection because you're just used to dealing with people that have sight.
Yeah.
So it's a strange, you know, there's something missing with the eye contact for me. So it was a strange meeting, but the performance was incredible.
Well, now you've performed all over the world.
Yeah.
Which venue? It's always interesting to speak to musicians about the venues because everybody has that one venue that they've always wanted to play in, and when they get there, it's bliss for them. Have you had a venue like that?
I haven't had a venue that I've always wanted to play it and have played it. I mean, especially internationally. I mean, I've seen Keith Jarrett at Carnegie Hall, which is one of the greatest piano players, my favorite piano player, and one of the most beautiful, iconic venues. I've never played Carnegie Hall, but I've done some great venues. I mean, some of my favorite venues are not well known.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Elmer Cafe in Little Mowbray, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's one of my favorite venues to play as a folk singer.
Why?
It's just so intimate, the sound's great, the people they know they're coming to listen, there's no talking. And the way the sound is set up at the Elmer, you play in the middle of the sound. You've got a speaker coming at you, and you've got a speaker coming from the side, so you actually feel like you, and the audience, feel like you're right in the middle of the sound, which is quite a nice way to perform.
Well, now you play all kinds of different types of music. I mean, I introduced you as a jazz singer and saxophonist, but you are playing at the Folk and Acoustic Music Festival this weekend at Kirstenbosch. When did you get into folk music? Like, when did you make that?
Well, I grew up with jazz from my parents because my mother's a singer and my father was a trumpet player, but I also have an older brother, Tam, who's 10 years older than me, and I have a sister who's 8 years older than me, and another brother, Rob, who's 5 years older than me. So I was influenced by their music.
Mm-hmm.
And so I grew up with as much as I had Louis Armstrong or Ella Fitzgerald or Tony Bennett or those kind of jazz singers around the house, or Miles Davis or Coltrane. I had James Taylor and Carole King and Ricky Lee Jones, and I had all the Van Morrison and the Beatles and Donovan, and so I had all that music played around the house. So I grew up in this melting pot of many genres of music, and that's why I love all that music.
It sounds like an incredible atmosphere for any young musician to grow up in. Now, tell me about what we can expect from the Vogon Acoustic Music Festival when it comes to your performance.
Well, I'm performing with one of my favorite singers in South Africa, and her name is Tina Ska. And she's, for me, is like the Joni Mitchell of South Africa. She's a beautiful writer, she's got a beautiful heart, and she writes beautiful songs. So we're performing together, one of hers and one of mine. I might play the one that I might perform today, but then I played her a new tune that I wrote last week, and she said to me, "We got to play this song." So I don't know what I'll play on the day.
Well, I know that the festival is all about collaborations.
Yeah.
What has been your most memorable collaboration?
I've played with a lot of different people, but I think some of the things that really stay in my heart was with Winston Mankuku, playing on the Jazz Fest. The last time I played the International Jazz Festival, he's just got such a beautiful presence, and he was just such an incredible person, Winston Mankuku, and so that was one of my greatest things I did, I think.
Wow, you're actually playing the Jazz Festival again this year.
Yeah.
what can we expect from your set? I mean, how do you actually go from one genre to another? Is it hard for you?
Well, I don't do them at the same time.
No, I know you don't do them at the same time. But I imagine there's a mind
of course.
change that must go along with it.
Yeah, there is. I mean, when you're doing something, a different genre, you're in the zone for that thing. And I've been doing them simultaneously for a long time, so I change hats very, very easily. The Jazz Fest lineup is completely different. I recorded an album in Stockholm last year with a 7-piece, so I'm performing that music with a septet.
Oh wow!
With beautiful horn arrangements, 3 horns, piano, bass, and drums, and myself and vocals.
Wow!
Yeah.
Now, is there any one artist that you are excited to see at the Jazz Festival? A lot of artists coming from overseas for it.
I haven't looked at that thing properly, to be honest. I haven't looked at the roster, the program properly. I know Dirty Loops are playing, and I dig them. I think they're really cool. I like their take on a lot of tunes. So I think that'll be nice to see. I don't really know who's playing. I haven't looked at it properly. There's normally 1 or 2 gems for me. I mean, there's a lot of music that a lot of other people like, but every year there's always seems to be something that I go, okay, cool. Like last year there was a band I'd never heard of, Hiatus Coyote, and they were like cool, and it was nice to hear something fresh that I'd never heard before. So there's always something.